Well, welcome back to the BCA podcast. Folks, I am really excited about our guest tonight. Somebody that I became familiar with through a mutual friend, I guess. John Goodwin is, he told me to catch up with this guy, and Blake Lawson from Hollerback Game Calls. Folks, you are going to love this dude. He is a good old boy, and he loves the Lord, and man, does he make some beautiful calls. So welcome, Blake.
Hey, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, that accent, man, that's going to win the day.
I'm actually I'm actually trying to talk better than normal.
Really? So, Blake, where are you from? Like,
We are from right where Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia all meet on the Virginia side. We're the second county over, and a little town called Duffield.
ah, that's cool. And then and Hollerback is located right there at your homestead too, right? At your home?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got into making calls, what kind of calls you make, that kind of thing. We'll start with the easy stuff first.
All right. Well, I started out in box calls.
Uh-huh.
And what originally led me to actually start making calls was I got tired of buying crap from a store
Yeah.
because you never knew what you was going to get. You didn't know if it was say it was a big box chain store or if it was even, a cheap sale on another little section of the store. I mean, it didn't matter if it was $100 call or $25 call. Consistency wasn't there, and you could go buy one call, love it, and go back and buy another one, and it'd sound completely different.
Hmm.
And I got tired of that mainly. And I said, one day standing there, and I got tired of just throwing money at a habit and pretty much an addiction of turkey hunting. And I said, well, I know I can make those. I can figure it out. I'm pretty good with my hands. And one thing led to another. The first call, it took, I think, about 4 months to get it just right. And I mean, I was really particular and I was kind of in and out of, well, maybe I'm getting in over my head. I really don't understand this. And I actually had a few people help me out and kind of point me in the right direction. Alan Six of Green Runs Calls. And then he helped me out toward the box calls and kind of give me well, try this and start here and then take it and see what you can do with it.
Hmm.
So that kind of got me hooked and I started making more and more. And then eventually I said, well, I'd like to learn how to make pot calls. And I got hooked up with another guy from Mississippi. His name was Brandon, and it was Muddy Bottom Outdoors or Muddy Bottom Woodworks. That's what it was.
Hmm.
And he kind of gave me quite a few pointers and starters, measurements, try to just said, well, you can figure it out from there, but here's, I'm going to kind of guide you toward it. And 2018, March, I think it was March 2018, actually on the 18th, I started making pot calls and I haven't slowed down since. And that's when we were actually really founded and it's just exploded. It went from pretty much just word of mouth. Hey, won't you make me one of them? Hey, won't you make me one of them? And then about 2 years ago, I started social media and we grew from 28 states by word of mouth to having turkey calls in to this year after the Pennsylvania show to 42 states.
Wow.
And we make pretty much your turkey calls, that's pot calls. I make maybe one or two box calls about every 3 years when I have time. So, and then also I do deer grunt calls, I do raccoon squallers, I do rabbit squealers, I do squirrel barks chatters, I do crow calls, and I'm starting to dabble in a few other things that I haven't released yet. And once I get all those figured out, then I'll probably just go ahead and keep adding to the line and try to find something else and something else and something else. So
Jeepers. So how like do you make the reads for all those, like for the grunt calls and the raccoon calls and all that stuff?
I do not. Actually, all of my calls are pretty much supplied by all small businesses that's American made.
Beautiful.
So I stick to 100% American made. And then like even my wood that I get is from a small local wood shop that's in my area. He's about 45 minutes away.
Love it.
And I mean, we all got to take care of each other. It's a little man helping the little man.
That's right.
And I mean, that right there, it's American made. And then also, I try to keep with a lifetime warranty on quality on all my calls. So, say, like, even with the turkey calls, you have a little section in it that I missed during my quality control checks, like the glue separated, or the surface eventually comes out, or the soundboard comes loose. You send it back, I fix to replace it for free, and I ship it right back.
Wow.
But I stand behind my products 100%, and I believe in them, or I wouldn't offer that, because even out of 500 turkey calls, I've had one come back for a warranty, and that's it.
Wow.
And that's like even a lot of other people that make turkey calls say you end up falling on it, you bust it and you break it, you're out of call. You have to go buy a brand new one.
Yeah.
My shop ain't that way. My shop, we have a repair shop, and so you did fall on it, you ended up busting the surface in it, or you end up cracking the pod or something like that. You reach back out, I can fix all that, and 99% of them, if they're even broke the pots, I can get all those back to the way they're supposed to be and ship them right back out for a fraction of the price. So my calls are built to last, and I want them to be passed down from generation to generation.
Well, and that's the thing, is that these calls are so beautiful. When you and I talked in Pennsylvania, I thought, man, these things are beautiful. I'm afraid almost to take it into the woods. Like it's just a gorgeous piece.
Well, I appreciate it. I went around and, I got ideas as I was beginning to make calls and stuff. And of course, I started out like everybody else and with a flat back call. The back of the call is completely flat. And I got to thinking, well, I want to stand out. I got to be different. I don't like to be like everybody else anyway. So I went in and I started designing and going through and trying to figure out how I could stand out and be different, but make a workable piece of art that would actually be a better sound and actually project the sound 10 times better than what a flat back call would.
Yeah.
So, and it probably took about a year and a half of doing that. And eventually I came up with the design I got now. And of course, over the last 6 years, I've made little tweaks here and there and adjusted measurements and things, but it's all been a trial and error experience to find what was best that works for my sound.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. Like, is it all by ear? Like, we do some turkey hunting, but we're not, ate up with it. But yeah, I'm not sure that I could tell you that my call is any different than what a turkey's making or what one turkey's making versus another. Like, how do you tune them? How do you know that you're hitting the right note?
I've done it for so long now. I don't even hardly measure with anything but my fingers and my hands. So as I'm turning it, I also will go through, because you have to check the grain structure that's in every single piece of wood that you get. Wow. And I can take one whole board, I can get 15 calls from it, and all 15 calls are going to have a different measurement in it, because the grain structure is different. The density of it's different. You might have tighter grain in one spot, wider grain in another spot. So you have to adjust for that as you're going. Yeah. But I've done it for so long now, I don't even think. I know by looking at the board, yeah, this is what I need. And I mean, that's pretty much somebody can say, I want a high pitch raspy call. And I can say, okay, what wood and what surface? And they can say this right here. And I'll say, okay. And I can pretty much tailor it exactly what they want.
Wow. So I want to dive in a second on the wood and the surface, but just to give folks at home an idea. So I connected with Blake at the Great American Outdoor Show, and said, all right, Blake, I'm not a big pot call guy. Where should I start? So he points one out and pulls the package out, and I said, all right, I'll take that. And he goes, no, wait a minute. And I thought, what happened? He goes, no, we got to make sure this fits your hand. So now like I'd never even thought about that. But we tried 3 different ones to make sure that it fit my hand right. And then the striker, we went through a couple different strikers, and you were teaching me, to pull back but not to use the wrist and all that. Like they're almost like a custom fit to the customer. It was the most surreal call purchase I've ever made. I couldn't believe it. I was so impressed.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I make 3 different sizes. I make one for small hands, one for medium hands, and one for large hands. And I like doing face to face. That way, I can do what I did with you. Go
Yeah,
through and find exactly what fits. Because if you don't have something that's comfortable in your hands, even if it sounds really, really good, I mean, most of the time you're not going to want to really use it a whole lot because it ain't going to feel right.
right.
And I want it to fit exactly how it should in a person's hands. So.
Yeah, yeah. And the striker I got was it's got a weird like the end of it is kind of like a rounded point to it. Remind me what that one was called.
Yeah, that's our bell tip
Yeah,
strikers.
yep.
They're easier to purr with and cluck with.
Easy's what I need. I'm not a brilliant man.
I'm still a novice too, but I still learn something new every day. I had a guy come by up there and he started calling and I kept watching him and I noticed he was holding the striker a little bit different than I normally did. And I kept watching him and after he purchased a call and he went on, I grabbed my strikers and I sit back there and I played and I played and I played and I was like, dang, that right there actually changes the sound 100%. So I can get a whole nother sound out of it.
That's cool. Wow. Was the show good for you? Did you sell much?
Oh yeah, it was great. I went ahead and booked my spot for next year,
Yeah, we did too.
and I'll definitely be back. And I had a lot of people ask for some certain things that I didn't carry, so I'm actually in the process right now going through suppliers, measurements, designs, all that, trying to figure out how to make the calls that everybody was asking for. And that way,
Yeah.
I can actually have those up there for them.
There's a lot of competition there in terms of calls and collars, and you can tell what's just manufactured on a line versus what's handmade. Um,
Definitely.
so hopefully hopefully it was a successful week for you. It's a long show, man.
Oh, it is. That's the longest one I've ever been to. Most of the time, I'm good for like 2.5 days, but 9, that's a
Yeah.
whole different ballgame.
Did you get sick afterwards?
No.
Wow. Yeah, Moosey and I, the guy that I worked with catch and release, we were both sick as a dog the week after. That
Oh, dude.
shaking hands and breathing in all that, kids coming by, we're dressing them and stuff, and somehow it got both of us got run down and got colds. But
Oh, yeah.
so what woods do you use? Like what kind of wood and what are the surfaces? I know um you were showing me the titanium and some of the different surfaces you had.
Yeah, we carry black slate, green slate, purple slate, red slate, ceramic glass, crystal, glass aluminum, stone aluminum, green aluminum, and titanium. So, and the woods, pretty much anybody can pick any wood they want, and I'll find it, and I can
Really?
custom make exactly what they want. But
Really?
most of the standard woods that we carry is like ambrosia maple, cherry, and walnut. And then I got an assortment of exotics I usually keep on hand, which is leopard wood, canary wood, whinge, paddock, or paduke. Um, I've got some macaw. Um, I've got pretty much about anything. So,
Yeah, and the display cases, and I've shared a bunch of your photos because those woods are just beautiful. On standing like standalone, the woods are beautiful, but then to see them shaped and to see them, you know, going from like a board to a call, it's just they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. Are there will the woods cause different tones, intonations with the calls?
they
Do they?
will. They will. It's pretty much it's back to density and grain structure. So,
Yep.
like, say you have a softwood, your softwood, as you're playing it, the vibrations that's in the call will actually soak up those vibrations that softwood will. So it kind of mellows it out, makes it a little bit quieter and a softer call.
Yeah.
Now, if you have like a hardwood, say Osage or something like that on those lines, the vibration in it isn't soaked, it's projected out, so it's a lot louder of a call.
Okay. And then the surface, that's got to change it too, right? The
That
surface.
does. That does. It it all determines on what somebody's wanting. Like if they're wanting a high pitch call, but they're wanting a slate, most time I push them toward a green slate, and in a hardwood of some sort.
Yep.
Or unless they're wanting something that has a completely different sound, then I say, hey, let's go with the double aluminum, my Butterball Queen, my signature call.
Yep.
And most of the time, once somebody has that in their hand, they fall in love with it and they buy it. That's my favorite call, and that's probably my best selling call that I have.
Yeah, that's the Butterball Queen, you said?
It is. It's a cherry and purple heart, and it's a double aluminum.
Wow. So can you walk us through like the process of making a pot call? What goes into it?
Board selections first.
Yep.
And after that, I have to take it, do my measurements, cut it out to a certain size. Then I drill the centers and I'll put it on the lathe and I'll get it to a circle. So the original, what starts to be a pot call for everybody. After that, I go ahead and I start shaping the insides, getting the pedestal made, and I'll start doing finger measurements just to check to see the thicknesses of it, make sure it's in tolerance of what it feels like it should be.
Yep.
Then pretty much take it off and I shape the whole outside of it, starting with the beveled sides, and after that I go to the back of it and do my little design, and then it's on to sanding. And then from sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding, then it'll go. Huh?
Is that all by hand?
It is.
Oh,
it is. And then after that, I'll take it to the drill press. I put the sound holes in the back of it. I drill the pedestal out to a certain depth and thickness and all that of what the walls should be. And after all that, I'll number it, label it, put my Bible verse on the back of it, and then put the stain on it, take it upstairs and go to the finish shop and put the soundboard in it and the surface in it. And that takes a few days. Then after that, I go through and I match the striker to it that I think sounds the best with it for the vibrations it needs and what I think sounds best as a turkey. And then from there, it's put up for sale or it's passed on because I got somebody lined up ready for it.
Wow. Unbelievable. It's pretty work intensive then.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a process to it. It took me a while to get that process down where I was working full time and trying to do this on the side as a hobby. But now that it's my full time job, it's kind of streamlined now, and it makes it's a lot easier to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Are the surfaces, do you buy them cut already to size, or do you have to cut all those?
Okay. I do. I go ahead and buy all those. Yeah. Most of your call makers, they do as well.
Yeah.
It's
I would think so.
It's just easier because a lot of us don't have the right type of equipment or enough money to buy the equipment to actually cut that out. Needs to be cut.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I if anywhere you can streamline and it's not going to hurt the quality of the call, then that makes sense to me. So, but I don't know anything. Yeah. So then you're online, and is it mostly online sales then?
Yeah, I do. I got a website that I sell all my calls from. Pretty much that's the generic ones that I make the most of. It's just a picture of the wood type, and then people can go in there and they can actually click on the drop down menu that's for that certain call, and it has every single combination there is. So it could be a glass over slate, it could be a black slate over aluminum or something like that, and they can just go through every single surface and pick out exactly what they want, and I'll build it to that and send it right to them. And I'm getting ready to actually put me a new tab on there that has calls that's in stock, already finished and ready to be shipped out before this turkey season. Because
Yeah.
last year I didn't have that, and
Yeah.
I got behind. So
Yeah. How many are you spinning out a day, you think?
oh, 6 to 10.
Wow.
Not a whole lot, but I take my time with them.
Yeah.
I'll check everything, and I check multiple times
Yeah.
on all kinds of different types of my quality checks just to make sure it's right. If it ain't right, I got a whole box over here that is nothing but scrap wood because I take them off and I'll burn them. So start all back over. They have to be right before they leave my shop.
Wow. Wow. That's a nuts. I mean, to work like that and then to say this ain't right and then to burn it. That's
Yep.
crazy.
I even get them up to the finished product sometimes and don't like them, and I'll trash them.
Wow. That's that's commitment to quality right there.
Definitely. My name's on it, and I want my name to stand for exemplary calls. I want them to be,
Yeah.
top notch, better than anybody else's. I don't like to be second best. And if I am, that just gives me something to strive for to be better than that next guy.
Yeah. This is a whole new world to me if I'm being honest. I'll walk into a hunting store or a Walmart and grab a call off the shelf and say, hey, I guess this is what I need. I don't know why I didn't realize it, but I never really put it together that there are like literally custom calls that are being handmade. That's crazy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah, definitely.
a proud owner of one.
Huh?
I'm a proud owner of one now.
Right. And it does fit you. That's the thing.
That's exactly right. It does fit my small hands. So you mentioned that there's a Bible verse on every one of them. What's
There
that?
is.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty much every call that goes out is James 1:12, which is blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him.
Wow.
That is pretty much my subtle ministry that I do.
Uh-huh.
Because my business is built off of him as the cornerstone. He's the foundation of everything, marriage, all that. And I want to make sure that he is, the foundation of everything
Yeah.
because I want to put him first. And if you end up doing that type of ministry, I'm not going out there and preaching or trying to cram it down anybody's throat. I
Yeah.
might end up having somebody look at the back of it and go, huh, I wonder what that says. And if they look it up, then that right there, sow the seed, God will cause the increase.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That's really cool. It's my full-time job is a pastor. And then on the side, we do the land consulting stuff with Beards Creek. And so always looking for ways to marry those two things together, those two callings. When we're doing consults, we talk about the creator, or look how cool this was. There had to have been an intelligent being behind creating this, in some of our conversations. And
oh,
um,
definitely.
and we don't we're in the same. I think I mentioned to you that we're on the same page. We're not out there beating people over the head with it. And but we want that subtle ministry, so folks might start thinking, gosh, there's got to be something more, or maybe there's more to this. And you're sitting there in the woods, you look at the back of that call, maybe they pull their Bible up on their phone and say, what is this? And
Oh,
i
yeah, definitely.
I think that's awesome. That's really cool. So then the other thing, and this is so I was really impressed with the when you fitted me with the call and all that stuff. But then I came back a second time through just to say hey, and your wife and your little girl were with you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that says a whole lot. Like your family is definitely, you're a committed family guy, and it was neat to get to meet them and see them. And um, how's
Yeah.
how's life as a dad?
Oh, it's awesome. It was the best surprise I ever had. So, I mean, after 9 years of marriage, we wasn't planning on or expecting to have kids, and we said, well, if the Lord wants us to have one, we'll have one, and when the time is right, that's when he or
Yeah.
she will come.
Yeah.
And she came, and it's been the best thing ever. And ever since then, it's just been like one thing after another. One door opens, here I go through. Another door opens, here I go through, and it's just all fell in place to where I can actually be home and be a daddy and actually not miss anything compared to
Wow.
what I normally would have whenever I was working my
Yeah.
other job.
Yeah.
Because you never knew if you was going to be gone for 6 months at a time working 12-hour shifts, and then by the time I'd get home, she would already been in bed or something like that, and I never would have seen her except maybe on the weekends or a couple hours in the day, and I would have missed out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But whenever I found out about her, I prayed and prayed and prayed, for a better job, closer home, something that I could actually have more time with my family, even if it was less money. I said, that was okay with me.
Yep.
And lo and behold, I ended up getting hurt. I had a tree break free from me and tore my calf muscle. And
Oh,
then I just got put off work, and one thing led to another. And I've been with her for, she's getting ready to be a year old. So I've been with her whole life, but a month and a half.
wow.
So it's not the way I had envisioned it was going to happen, but it worked out for the better and ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. She's about to be a year old. She's cruising around, walking around, and your wife was saying you got to keep her penned in at the show and stuff. I can't believe she's
Yes.
up and moving at a year like that.
Oh, 9 months old, she was already walking, and now she's pretty much at a full sprint.
Wow.
And she's eat, breathes, and sleeps those shows and calls and stuff. Because sitting behind the table, a lot of people couldn't see her, but she would actually hold the kids call that I take to the shows to kind of introduce kids to it that may not have got the opportunities to play or even know what it is, and try to show them and teach them. And that might get them into it eventually. They
Yeah.
might look back and remember that. But I gave her that call because that's what she plays with whenever we're there. And she kept reaching for a striker on top of my table, and I'd move them back. And I said, well, heck, here, I've got plenty of these hickories. I handed her one, and she's sitting down there, and she took that striker, and she was laying it flat on the call, and she was rubbing it back and forth, trying to make it, sound off. And I was like, she's seen enough of that. She should know how it works.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Being a dad, man, it's awesome. It's one of the greatest callings in the world, I think, is being a father, and to have time with them. That I think that's the key, is to be able to have time there, like in the evenings, to be there when they're going to bed, to be there at dinner time, to be there when when they're growing up. That's such a huge part of it, I think. And lots of times as dads, we miss out on that opportunity. And that's awesome
oh,
that you're getting to do that.
yeah, definitely. I love every second of it,
Yeah,
and it's been awesome. So
that's good. You said a tree had gotten away from you. Were you a forester or cutter or?
no, we actually had a bad storm come through, and there's only one way in, one way out to my
Ah,
house.
yeah.
And my neighbor, he come out because his farm joins mine, and we was cutting all the trees off the road and getting them thrown off. And he actually had one come down on his property line fence on the top, and it's where the cows, the sheep, and the goats all met, and then also the neighbor's fence, property line fence. And we was out there, and we was dragging the brush and moving it, and as he was cutting it, I was pulling it, and I got a hold of one that still had tension whenever I was pulling, and whenever he cut it, it come around and smacked me.
Oh, not good. Not good.
No, I thought I got a Charlie horse, and honestly, I thought a rattlesnake hit me first thing because I jumped and rolled down the hill and pulled up my pant leg, and I was looking for two holes, but it ended up being that tree got me, and I thought, well, I just got a Charlie horse. I finished up the night with him working, pulling brush and hobbling. Then I went and actually worked 2 days on it, and I went ahead and done everything. And they told me, they said, well, you're going to have to climb all these flights of steps all the way up to the top. We got an AC unit that needs to be worked on. And there's no elevator. And I was like, well, boys, take me to medical. I said, I'm done. I said, there ain't no way. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I've been home.
Oh, man. I have two of my kids. I have four, and two of them are in the timber industry. One's a forester for the state, and the other one is a cutter for the state. And so, I pray for them regularly. I've had my injuries in the woods. I had a tree drop on my shoulder and my neck, and was concussion for 3 months, and it's scary stuff. You pray for them. So
yeah, trees are dangerous. I'm telling you, they can get away from you in a hurry.
Yeah, they can get away from you on the lathe too, can't they?
Oh, definitely. I've had them crawl off the lathe and right up my face and take my respirator and my glasses off and my hat and everything before, and that makes you sit back and think real quick, and you go, man, what happened there? Yeah. I didn't see that crack in that piece of wood.
I'm always a little tentative when I get back to the tool after something like that happens. I've using a router, had a router bit come flying out one time, and thinking, I really want to use this tool again. So getting back on the horse is.
Yeah, I usually quit after something like that happens. I quit for the night because I can't make nothing. I can't pay attention like I need to it. So I had one get away from me, and I had I think 5 or 6 cuts up my face, and it was all of a sudden it just come off, and I know it went by really, really quick, but it seemed like time stopped, and I could watch it coming, and I couldn't move, and it about took me off my feet.
Wow. Oh. So do you have employees that are working with you too? Or are you a one-man show at this point?
Right now we're a one-man shop. So pretty much I do everything on my own. I don't outsource anything except for like what I order to come here so I can actually make my stuff. I got a promising guy that has been kind of hanging out, and I've been showing him and teaching him a few things, and he's probably going to end up being the full-time guy probably for too long. He's in college right now, and once he gets out of college and stuff, then we're going to talk and see where that goes. So that gives me enough time to build and grow a little bit more, and that way I can actually pay him.
Well, and you got to pay yourself too. Kids aren't cheap.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I noticed, I think it was on your Facebook page that your wife is on there, check out my husband's calls and stuff. She seems like she's really behind the business too. So
she is. She's my cheer section. That's the only one that matters to me on the cheer side of it. And she has my back 100% on everything, and she's go for it. But she actually runs her own business full time as well from the house. Yeah.
Really?
So we're both small business owners, and we both work from the house. She works upstairs, and I work downstairs. And she works day shifts, and I work night shift.
I was going to ask, do you make a lot of noise when she's on phone calls or something? And
no, she's usually already asleep by the time I get started. Yeah. And usually my shift is 7 o'clock in the evenings to usually my first quit time is about 2 a.m. unless I actually have like a show or something coming up, then it's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And then her work shift starts about 6:30 in the morning and goes to about 4 in the evening.
But the beauty of that is then you can spend the day with your daughter, and then
exactly
that's you're not having to pay for daycare, and like you are raising your child.
Definitely. I ain't gotta have somebody else there and trying to teach them and show them, and probably teaching them what I wouldn't want them to be taught.
Exactly right. Yeah. So that's cool. That's a great setup. That's to be able
challenging. It's challenging sometimes, but yeah, it's great that both of us can actually do that. I mean, she quit her job about I'd say I think this is going on like year 3,
Uh-huh.
probably.
Yep.
And I told her, I said, eventually, I said, I'm going to get home. I said, and I want to work from home eventually as well. I said, once I feel confident enough and the business is grown enough, I said, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
she said, well, when it happens, go for it.
Wow.
So,
Talk about a cheering section for sure. Or,
oh,
to
definitely.
have somebody saying go for it. That's awesome. So
Oh, yeah, definitely.
so when does turkey season start down there for you?
First weekend of April, I believe. I honestly, I can't even tell you. I don't never know until my little brother will call me and say, "Hey, you gonna come call?" or something like. So there's 21-year difference between me and him, and he actually does all the killing and I do all the calling, and that's fine with me because he's big enough now that he cleans everything he kills. So,
Wow, that's really cool. That I mean, to have a to be that different in age, and yet for you to be hanging out together, like that's really cool.
oh yeah, he's been on my hip pocket pretty much since he could walk, and it's been one thing after another. And we started out in the woods pretty much like Dad did me. I mean, Dad used to wrap me up in a quilt and throw me in his backpack and carry me into the mountains during deer season. And then he would throw me in a down tree lap and cover me up with leaves to keep me warm. And I would just sleep up there. And I mean, that's when I was, months, not even a year old. And he was done exactly the same way. And I mean, there's 4 of us, and only 2 of us like to hunt. And
Yeah,
I think he was 2 when me and my wife met. And I mean, he pretty much felt like my own until my daughter came along.
wow, man, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
do you deer hunt then too?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I deer hunt and turkey hunt, and we do a lot of squirrel hunting. Do a lot of fishing, frog gigging, and things like that. And going to end up trying out duck hunting here pretty soon. I got a buddy in Arkansas. He started making duck calls, and he reached out to me, and he was asking questions about how to do certain things, and I
yeah,
got to talking with him, and I was like, well, I had somebody help me and point me in the right direction, and I said I was very appreciative of it. And I said I'm gonna point you in the best way I can. I said I don't make duck calls, but I can help you with your setup and all that, and any little tips and tricks I can help you to
yeah,
make better calls and get her going and actually find your own design and things like that. And I reached out to him here the other night, and I said, well, what did you think about me and 2 other guys coming out there to duck hunt in Arkansas? I said, you know anybody that might be willing to call for us and show us the ropes? He said, definitely. He said, when you coming? so, so we're gonna try that probably in 2025,
yep,
and that way we got plenty of time to get everything set up.
yeah. Do you have any desire to move into duck calls?
I have a lot of people that ask me to make duck calls, and maybe eventually, whenever I actually have some more people working for me,
Yep,
and I can start exploring and learn them myself, because I
yeah,
want to know how to use them. Because if I know how to make them, that's all fine and dandy. But if I don't know how to blow them, how they're supposed to sound, or anything like that, I can't make quality calls.
that's true.
So I have to learn all that first, and I'm going to try to pick up on that while I'm out there with him and have him actually show me and teach me that stuff
Yeah,
and kind of give me a crash course and see what happens. And then after that, I'll probably start making duck calls a little bit.
yeah, cool. Now you do grunt tubes, like grunt calls for deer.
Yes,
Um, and do those? What are I know there's a reed that doesn't freeze.
right,
Uh,
right. Well, we got a solid metal housing that has a weighted reed in them, so that keeps them from freezing and sticking. Um, which I haven't had nobody call me back and say, "Hey, this reed stuck." And
yeah,
I've made, I think, close to about 400 grunt calls right now, and I mean, a lot of those are actually in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, And if they ain't frozen up there, I say I'll be all right. And I talked to a guy in Canada, and he said, "Well, you think how they do up here?" I don't know. I said I've never had them in Canada, and I know it's probably a lot colder up there than
Yeah.
everywhere's that I hunt, and a few other people that use them. I said it'd be worth a shot. That way, I could say, yeah, they do great, unless you go across the border.
Right.
So
Uh, we're outside of Buffalo, like an hour from Buffalo, New York. So
yeah,
we're an hour and a half from Canada, like crossing the border. But I've never hunted up that way at all. So I mean, I've hunted the Adirondacks, and it gets stinking cold up there. You know, we're single digits pretty much daily. So you know, I'll have to grab one offline or online, and I'll give it a shot for you. I'll go
yeah,
drag it around the woods and see what it does. So
yeah, definitely. Let me know. I mean, I've had some people buy them, and I told them, I said, if you don't believe me, I said, dip it in water, spit on it, whatever. I said, throw it in the freezer and leave it, and I said, get it back out and see what it does.
yep, absolutely. It's funny, isn't it? How you test some of these things. We've got rain gear with the company that I was working with at the PA show, and put it on, go stand in the shower for 15 minutes. It was kind of, and it stayed dry. We're like, okay, this will work. But
Oh yeah,
you
definitely.
got to come up with trial and error on some of this stuff and see what works and what doesn't. So,
Yeah, for sure,
wow.
for sure.
So is you're just going into this full time now, but you've been making calls for 3 years?
6 years actually.
Oh,
This is my
6 years.
sixth. Yeah, this is my sixth year doing pot calls.
Okay.
And actually, I think my second year, no, going on my third year on grunt calls. First year for raccoon squallers. So I've been adding stuff every single year.
Yeah.
But this is my first year full time. February 9th was my first full day actually when I was in Pennsylvania
Right. Right.
as a full time call maker.
Yeah. And are you starting to get photos back from people that are using your calls, that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, I've been getting them for years.
Okay.
I've had pictures from Idaho and a lot of Utah, Kansas, Florida, a lot of Michigan, Pennsylvania. Um, I'm eager to see if about California. I had a guy get one from California here a while back, and it wasn't turkey season yet, so I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to see how he does out there, and I'd love to get some pictures of that.
Yeah. Are they different tunes for the different turkeys? You know, for the like the Merriams and all those other
I've
like
never hunted anything but right here.
right.
In my pretty much you go 30-mile radius. That's
Yep.
about as far as I've went turkey hunting. But I've talked to some guys, and they all say pretty much like here, everybody uses a slate call because it's all store bought. Every call sounds the same type of deal. I take an aluminum out, so it's completely different. And I call 99% of my birds in with those. And most of the birds that we killed over the years have all been called in with the aluminum.
Yeah.
And dad, dad used to call for me all the time, and he's who got me into it. But I started taking that aluminum, and he was just amazed at the difference in how the birds responded to it. And when I started calling, almost every single time we go out, a double or three or four in, and once I called in five gobblers at one time on my little brother, and he was just amazed. I mean, they
Yeah.
respond so much different to that. But that's like out west. I've had some guys say, well, they like the high pitch. I've had other guys like down south say, well, they like a clear mellow tone. So I kind of push them toward a crystal. Um, Up north, actually in Pennsylvania, I sold a lot of those butterball queens, those double aluminum calls, and they do very well up there.
Mhm.
I had one first time customer last year. He bought the call, ended up calling in him a bird away from another guy that was out there on the other end of the property. And eventually he said, well, I'll take my buddies. And he went out with his buddies, and they all tagged out in like the first couple of weeks.
Eh. I wonder if it's because those birds are so used to hearing slate. You know,
It
and
could be.
you're giving them something a little different, and I don't know. You know, just a thought, but I think anything that you can do that gives them a little something different, but also then gives them something that they, sounds right to them. Um, that seems to be what the key is. So,
Oh
but
yeah, definitely.
yeah, well, that's cool. That's really neat. And then tell me more about the coon stuff. Like we trap them, but there's not a lot of guys here that hunt them with dogs or anything anymore. Like small game has kind of gone out, but
Honestly, I don't raccoon hunt at all. Um, I met up with a guy out of Florida, and I when I was last year, I tried to do a lot of networking and trying to get my stuff in stores and meeting new people. So I'd sit down here in the shop every night before I'd start turning any calls, and I'd flip through Facebook or I'd flip through Google and pick a state, and I'd go through there and say, all right, well, there's 2 hunting stores. I'm gonna send them emails, and I'd send them pictures of my sales pitch, and if they bite, they bite, and if they don't, they don't. And the next night, I'll do the same thing, and so on. And I did that with this guy, and he said, well, I like the way they look. He said, they sound pretty good. He said, could you send me one? I said, sure. I sent him one. He said, I don't like the way it sounds. It sounds horrible. I said, all right. I
okay.
said, I like critical feedback. I said, what can I do to make this better? And that kind of caught his attention. He said, well, try this. And I went ahead and I done a little bit more working on it and stuff. And I sent it back to him. And he was surprised that I did exactly what he said. And he's like, that's better, but it's still not there. I said, okay. I said, all right. I said, how about me and you, we go back and forth. I said, we'll get this right. He said, okay, yeah. And 3.5 months later, we got exactly the sound he was looking for and my design, and ended up now they sell very good. Like he goes and he shows dogs like the hounds, and then he does a lot of the hunts. He's multi world champion and like show champion, and his mom's in the Coon Hunters Hall of Fame and things like that. So I mean, him actually being able to walk me through how everything is supposed to be on it, because I had no way to even know because I didn't do it.
Yep.
And now he can actually sell those. I send them to him. He goes to all these shows and does everything on that side of it. So that's a whole nother world and industry I
Yeah.
probably never would have got in if I just wouldn't have randomly been sending, you know, hey, would you be interested in this type of call?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it worked out for the better. Now we're good friends and business partners, and I mean we
Wow.
talk pretty much daily.
Wow. That's awesome. So do you have are your calls in some stores now?
Uh, I've got some stores, and they're like I'm working on one in North Carolina right now. We're actually they're supposed to be reaching back out to me, and we're going to be carrying mostly turkey calls and a few grunt calls.
Yep.
But I've got stuff in a store in Pennsylvania. That's Laurel Mountain Outfitters.
Mm-hmm.
That guy in Florida, he has an online website as well, and he sells my calls. It's Hunter's Wheelhouse. Um, and that's Jason Wayne Hunter if nobody can't find Hunter's Wheelhouse. And then I've got 2 stores right here that's local that carries me. One's a pawn shop, the other one's actually a boutique.
Uh-huh.
I've got there's 2 or 3 more that's kind of right there at the point we haven't just got everything settled in yet, but it's been little by little more and more interest, and
That's
people's
the little
actually starting to take notice.
little guy taking care of the little guy, right?
Pretty
Like that's
much.
what we were saying in the beginning. It's you might have to hire another guy if you get in Walmart or Runnings or Gander Mountain or something, Cabela's.
I'd probably have to hire more than just one guy.
Well, I'll come down and do packaging for you. I'll box it all because I can't make them.
Yeah, that packaging, I hate doing packaging.
Oh,
I hate it.
yeah, not fun. Well, that's really cool. Where, Blake, where can people find you? Find your calls? I know you mentioned the website and stuff, but how can they get a hold of you?
They can reach out to me through Instagram is usually the best way, or on my website. I actually got all my contact information. It has my cell phone. It has the email address to reach out to me. I do respond to Facebook messages, but that's kind of hit or miss because I'm not on Facebook very much.
Yep.
But the best way to get a hold of them is probably Instagram or through my website on there. Because
Okay.
I mean, somebody can get my cell phone, they can text me or they can call me, and
Yeah.
if I don't pick up, I usually call back within an hour or something like that. They just
Sure.
have to leave me a message.
And it's Hollerback Game Calls. Holler, Haller, and it's 2 words. Hollerback,
Yes, sir.
2
Yes, sir.
words. Game calls. So yeah, we don't have a huge audience, couple hundred people, but I can't suggest people check you out higher or more than I'm stuttering over my words, dude. I can't recommend you more highly, I guess, to folks. The calls, just very impressed with the calls, even more impressed with you as a person, and you're making your family a priority, and even the ministry piece of it, all of it, man. I think that's you're a good dude. So
Hey, I appreciate it. I ain't good, but I strive every
yeah,
day to try to be better. So,
you know, as a pastor, I should probably know better than to say you're a good dude, right?
but
We're all sinners by the grace of God, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And there's also one thing that I like to throw out whenever I do talk to somebody on a podcast, just because I like to try to spread awareness.
sure.
I work with a group called the KOK. It's the
Oh
Courageous
yeah,
Outdoor Kids.
yep,
Um, they take kids with life-altering illnesses into the outdoors, so hunting, fishing, just anything like that. And it's all 100% donated, 100% volunteer based. Whenever a kid comes, their license paid for, taxidermy paid for, the hunt's paid for. I mean, food, housing, they put the families up, everything. It's a great group to help if somebody's looking to find something to do that is normally, we just say here's you a buck for what do you call it? The one guy that stands out there and jingles the bell at
oh yeah,
Christmas.
yeah, yep. The
Yeah,
red kettle or whatever.
instead of just doing that on Christmas, you could actually, you can support the kids throughout the whole year and actually help them.
Yeah,
And I've actually, the two of the kids that are in that group is my apprentices, and I teach them to build turkey calls as well. And we're actually getting ready to start going into crow calls and things like that. But they pretty much have become my buddies. I think very highly of them. I try, if they got any questions, they can call me, they can text me at any time. I've got to go to one of them's shop after I taught him how to build the calls, and I got to actually walk him and give him a few little pointers, which wasn't very much because he picked up on it very, very quick. I'm going to try probably next week to stop by the other guy's little kid shop, see how he's doing, and see if I can help him with anything also. But
hmm.
what they're looking to do is the turkey calls they're building, they're going to start selling, and money proceeds from that is actually going to go back to the group as well
Wow.
because they're getting ready to age out. After you hit a certain age, you age out, but they can be guides
Yep.
and go and help the kids. And also, that kind of gives the other kids coming in a little bit of hope from what I can tell, and says, "Hey, I did this, I beat this. Hey, you can too. Just
Hmm.
keep going."
Yeah.
And it's a Christian ministry as well. They they have like your ministry groups. They have go through and they teach about one thing on the Bible or two things on the Bible. It's a great group to be with. And I've got calls that are supposed to be going up for raffle here pretty soon, and we're going to be donating everything back to them on that. So it's going to be an Australian leopard wood call with a green aluminum, and it's going to have a matching crow call with it. And that's this year's call for them. Next year, I've got one that I really want to get made up, but it's actually on its way from Indonesia right now. The wood is so. It's very, very special piece of wood that I had to search high and low for, but I did find it. So
Hmm. Well, give me the name again. So in case folks want to support the name
it's
of.
Courageous Outdoor Kids, and it's spelled with a K.
Yep.
And if people's having a hard time finding it, they can actually go to my website, and I have a tab on my website that is specifically for the KOK, and they can click on that. They can read the story about it, and they can even click their link, and it'll take them to their website.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. And your website then is hollerbackgamecalls.com?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, because I'll make sure this will come out on Monday of this coming week, and I'll make sure that I include all of that too, so that
Okay.
folks can find the links. And man, what a great ministry! That's really cool. And to be teaching kids not just how to hunt, but now how to make calls. That's going the extra mile. That's really neat. So,
Yeah, I like to be involved with kids. I love to get them into the sport. I love to teach. That's what I like to do.
yeah.
And a lot of people that's call makers and things like that, they're very willing to help support, kids on the raffles and things like that. But I want to go a little bit further and the kids actually know how to do it themselves, because
Yeah.
I'm not worried. It doesn't matter, about a lot of people worry about, well, if I teach this guy how to do this, then he may take my business one day. I'm not worried about that, because I want them to know how to do it. Eventually, they may end up coming to work for me, or I may end up coming to work for them. Who knows?
Yeah.
And we're all here to help each other. And I try to make it a point to help the kids, show the kids, do what I can, even at the shows with that little kids call that I have. I love to get the kids involved, and I would probably pretty much just tell an adult, hey, wait a minute, a little kid's talking. I'm dealing with him. Your money will spend later, or if he don't want to spend money with me after I kind of blow him off because I'm focused on the kid, that's okay, because I'm still going to focus on that kid, because money ain't everything to me, and it never has been, and it never will be.
Yeah. Well, and someday those kids may grow up to be, your customers too. Like you're building a relationship with a kid that you could be impacting their life, not just as a customer, but you're impacting them. You're taking the time to listen to them and to teach them. That's so rewarding to me.
Oh, definitely, because a lot of these shows that I've been to, people don't really pay attention to kids, and they really don't have nothing for them to get involved. And if somebody touches one of their calls, they're like, "Oh gosh, don't do that." Um, but I got where I've been around kids my whole life, and of course the little brother, there's 21-year difference between me. It's kind of made me look at kids a lot different, and see how he loves the outdoors. I was thinking, well, you know, I would rather deal with that little kid than I would the adult, anyways, because they're more humble and they're actually going to be straightforward. That
And they're more fun.
they are, and I've had the little kids before say, "Well, that don't sound like no turkey." I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, and you got to hold it like this," and I'll show them. Then they'll go, "Oh, okay, yeah." But they're very honest, very honest.
They're fun. They're definitely they can bring a lot of excitement to life for sure. And they don't pull any punches, do they? They tell you
No,
like it is. Yep.
yes, they do,
Well,
definitely.
well, I really appreciate you taking time. I know it's work time. This is you're 2 hours almost into your shift.
Oh, I've still got phone calls I got to make, and then I've got a doctor's appointment in the morning too. So I'm not going to have a late night.
Yeah.
So I was figuring maybe about 3 calls a night would be about it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this for me and connecting with us, and hopefully it spins some business your way. But at the very least, um, I feel like I got somebody down south now that I consider a friend in Virginia. Right? You're just over in the Virginia line now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just barely over in Virginia.
All right. Well, I have cousins in that are near Roanoke or Richmond, I guess, is where they're at. So
Oh yeah, that's a good ways away from us.
yeah, and keep them over there too, right?
Yeah, I just they stay up there. So no, I've met a lot of people up that way. It's good. That's like all these places I've been. There's been a lot of everybody has their own quirks about them and stuff, and everybody has their own different accents. But whenever you start talking about hunting or something like that or fishing, it's just like bam, you connect, and anybody can get on the same page with that. So
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, thanks. I feel like our turkey season doesn't open till May 1st. We do a youth weekend at the end of April, but I'm really stoked to get out there and to try the call. And I feel like I've learned a ton just even tonight from you about how they're made and how they're used. And so thank you very much for indulging a novice like me. I've only killed a handful of turkeys, so.
well, I appreciate you taking the time and having me on. I enjoyed it. I hope you get one, and if you need any pointers, yell at me. You got my number. We can run through a FaceTime or something like that and get exactly what you need.
Absolutely, will do. So, all right, thanks, Blake, and God bless, man. I hope your business does well. I hope your little girl grows up to be everything you hope for, and I'll be praying for you and your marriage and your little girl. So in the business. So
I appreciate it, and Lord willing, we'll see you up there next year.
I'll be there. Sounds good.
All right, bud.
Thanks, man.
See you, bud.